Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 4-game Olympic basketball slate that starts Friday night. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings, including, again, Olympic basketball. Also making videos for PGA Data, Fantasy Sports, and NBA Top Shot. If you guys are unable to watch these YouTube videos, I also upload an Apple podcast. I'll have a link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you are interested in signing up for premium content, I offer a few different packages on Patreon. NFL package, an NBA package. With the NBA package, you're going to get Olympic basketball as well as Summer League. And then I offer an esports package that includes Call of Duty and CSGO. I do want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring this episode. So there are a couple different ways you can play Prize Picks. Number one is just taking over-under and straight-up fantasy points. So Prize Picks will post players and their fantasy scores, and you take the over, the under. Right now we have 4 players. I'm guessing there's going to be some more posted throughout the day here, or single stat. So you can take over-under and straight-up points or straight-up rebounds. Sometimes they'll have assists here too. I like it. It's a nice change of pace, again, because you're not playing against someone, you're playing against the house. If you guys, I believe both the Japan guys went over in Rui and Watanabe, and I think Gasol went under too. It was close. That one was close, but pretty sure both Japan guys went over if you tailed that one. But yeah, if you guys want to try it out, you can sign up, use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. Basically, you put $100 in, you will get a free $100 to play with. And finally, if you guys could, leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos and you don't go live. I will be doing a live stream tomorrow. Might be an earlier one, though. I will let you guys know. Let's try to aim for 150 likes on this video. All right, so before we talk about players and their prices for this 4-game slate, we can look back at my lineup here from the 2-game slate. So the 2-game slate went pretty solid for me. Overall, was a nice 3-4x night. Here we can go over my lineup. But, yeah, good night. Nothing crazy, but solid returns for sure. So this is my lineup. I hinted at using both the Japan guys with Luka together. I liked that game stack. I just thought, that game was being played at a much faster pace. It was, again, 116-81. And the reason I like the Japan guys is, okay, this game's being played at a fast pace, and we know where the offense is coming from. Like, literally, their offense is Rui and Watanabe. And, like, no one else has a ton for that team. So those are the reasons why I like stacking the studs in the first game, and it worked out. Again, Luka, obviously everyone played him. Well, I guess still 15% of people faded Luka Doncic, which is, that makes no sense to me. But, yeah, Watanabe and then Rui. Rui only 33% owned. Was the thumbnail to my video, and a guy I was very, very high on. That had a nice bounce back game. Did a lot better with the perfils, right? He had a kind of outlier with just a scoring dependent game 1. But game 2, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, 52 fancy points. Going over the rest of my lineup, then it was kind of just, those are the stars I wanted, so I had to just fill in value. So everyone else is basically like below 4K. Muric was decent, had a really good first half, kind of cooled off there in the second half. Went for 16.25 fantasy points. Again, Brusino, 10.5. Can we talk about Hiejima? Really, bro? Really? So I have him as a core play game 1, does nothing, plays 10 minutes. Of course, fade today, on fire, couldn't miss. 20 fantasy points. Again, DFS in a nutshell. Also, chalk Alex Abrenis with like 3 steals and 2 blocks. But yeah, going over everything else here. So Sergio Rodriguez was very popular play. It wasn't crazy, but 12.75 fantasy points, not bad. Again, Vildoza was the chalk of the chalk. I mentioned that he kind of had an outlier game last game, even though I went back there. Again, just there wasn't a lot of great value on the slate. He went for 10.5 fantasy points, and Garuba went for 4.75, but yeah, it was still a really good night for me. A lot of you guys had great nights on Patreon as well. So congrats to everyone. We had some big days stacking up that first game. Let's go over the winning lineup here in the NBA Slam. Then we can move on to this 4-game slate. So winning lineup actually used that combo of the Japan guys together of the values in Tanaka and Hiejima. Again, Hiejima. I'm not tilted. Nope, not at all. Let's see. So he had the Japan guards with Muric, Rui, And then Luka. So you had Gavin Edwards. If you played Gavin Edwards, you got unlucky. He got injured. He injured his shoulder earlier in that second half, so that was kind of tough. Propolic had another good game. Watching that game, he's the guy when Luka Doncic comes off the court, like he'll handle the ball a ton. So we'll see what Propolic's price is next game, but definitely someone I'm intrigued by because he's a pretty high usage guy. And then Pau Gasol going to win for 22 fantasy points was one of the value plays that I did mention. So that was how my night went. Again, it was a good night. A lot of good nights for you guys as well. And let's move on to this game, this slate. So again, we have here, let me refresh this so everything's up to date because I was looking at this stuff last night. All right, France and Iran, it's a 156.5 over under. France are 26-point favorites. Nigeria and Italy, a 164.5 over under. Italy are 6.5-point favorites. Germany and Australia, 171.5 over under. Australia, 8.5-point favorites. And the Czech Republic versus USA, a 183.5 over under. USA are 23.5-point favorites. So we'll start off with the first game. Again, we're going to look at players and their minutes in each of these first games. And we'll talk about the players I like. So we'll start with France. Again, game one. A lot of the main guys got big minutes. Fournier, 34. Gobert, 29. De Colo, 32. Yabusele played 19. Batum, 31. In the second game, again, it was a little bit more of a blowout, so they extended the bench a little bit. But yeah, Fournier played 28. De Colo, 25. Batum, 27. Gobert, 22. Yabusele only played 6. I think that's incorrect, but it could be wrong. Either he aggravated that injury or he really only played 6 minutes. Again, I didn't watch that game, so let me know. If you guys watch that game, let me know. Did Yabusele really only play 6 minutes in that game? Yeah. So going over players and their prices here, Gobert is still too pricey at 9.9K. I just don't really understand this price. He'll probably play close to 30 minutes in a competitive game. This game does have blowout risk, right? Going up against Iran. We just saw what the USA did to Iran, and France beat the USA. So I'm probably not going to get to Gobert. Fournier, the price is slowly coming up at him. Started at 6.8, now he's 8.4K. The risk here, again, is there's a chance he loses some minutes, right? Because Iran is not a great team. And we saw at the USA, right, KD, the main guys for USA all played like around 20 minutes. And that's what I'm worried about happens here for Fournier. If he only plays like 22 to 24 minutes, it's going to be hard for him to pay off that salary. So Fournier, I still have interest in, but I think there's a little more risk now. Nando De Colo at 7.9K has been playing some really good minutes. Again, 32 and 25. He handles the ball. Again, 5, 8 assists. If you want to get off I think still somewhat chalky Fournier, you can go to De Colo over Fournier. I don't think it's the worst idea. Nick Batum at 6K is kind of just a safe play. We know what his role is. Not going to be their go-to scorer, but a guy can kind of stuff the stat sheet. Should play some decent minutes, and again, 6K is a fair price point. So I do want to mention a couple other guys here, though. So Yabusele, again, 3.2K. Just monitor that. Again, he only, I guess, played 6 minutes. I still think that's incorrect, but 18 minutes game 1, I got injured. 6 minutes in game 2. He is like a decent point per minute guy, actually, when playing for France. So just monitor that if he's available to go. I think he's an intriguing value play. And then one guy that, if you think this game turns into a blowout, I think looks intriguing here is Vincent Poirier. Again, was on the Celtics, is a big man, is a good point per minute guy. First game, 11 minutes, 11 fantasy points. Next game, 19 minutes, 19 fantasy points. So I think if this game does blow out, Gobert's minutes probably get limited. He could play a little bit more. So I'm intrigued by Poirier because I think he's a guy that can kind of smash it if the game turns into a massive blowout. All right, moving on to Iran. So we kind of know the drill with Iran. It's Haddadi at the top and then some value. So Haddadi at 9K, 29, 22 minutes. Again, he is, this offense just runs through him. They don't have a lot of offense going for Iran. It's kind of just post up old Hamid Haddadi and let him go to work. Do I want to pay 9K for him? You can as a contrarian option, but he's definitely not my preferred spend up. And then we have Biak, M. Jams, M. Nick. M. Jams had another good game. He played 22 minutes for 20 fantasy points. Biak was kind of just average, 25 minutes, 12 fantasy points, and he played 36 in competitive game. And M. Nick was terrible. Again, I played him, 18 minutes, 6 turnovers, 4 fantasy points. But those are kind of the next tier of guys for Iran. If this game stays competitive, those 3 probably see some decent minutes. But what I'm worried about is what happens, if the game turns into a blowout like it did for USA, and these guys' minutes get limited. So And this game in general is risky because of blowout. Again, if you take a look at Iran game 1, right, the minutes were very condensed. Nick 32, Haddadi 29, MGM's 29, Biak 36, all playing big minutes. Game against USA, not so much, right? Really spread out, and this will happen if the game turns into a huge blowout. So again, there's some risk definitely with this first game. Let's move on to Nigeria and Italy. So we got to first start off with Jordan Nwora, 5.1K. I think he's going to be the chalk of the chalk. Played 30 minutes, shot lights out, 13 of 20, 49 fantasy points. I think he is still a good play, but probably going to be a little bit over-owned, right? We saw, like, game 1, 21 minutes, 20 fantasy points. That's possible, right? Don't expect 50 fantasy points. Now, is 5.1K still a good price for Nwora? Yes, because he's still going to be one of their main guys on offense for sure. So, do like Jordan Nwora. Again, I like that he's at the small forward position too, because small forward usually a weaker spot. Now let's talk about the rest of the guys here for Nigeria. So Achua versus Okafor. Once again, I'm going to prefer Achua. I think some people will be a little bit scared off from that 16 minutes. He did get in some foul trouble, though. So if he stays out of foul trouble, he probably plays that 20 to 25 minute range. However, the price did jump on him a little bit. So it is a little bit more difficult to get to guy pressure Achua, but he should be a solid point per guy. And they'll run the pick and rolls with Achua. A good rebounder, can block some shots. Don't have a ton of interest in Okafor off the bench. Gabe Vincent kind of had a subpar game last game, 23 minutes, 15 fantasy points. Again, though, he is going to be one of their main guys in offense. Like, don't be surprised if Gabe Vincent takes over and Nwora kind of takes a little bit of a backseat. Just because Nwora had the great game last game doesn't mean he's going to have the good game again this game. Same thing, you know, Japan guys, right? Rui and Watanabe. Just because Watanabe had the big game 1 didn't mean he was the guy you wanted to go to for game 2, right? So if everyone is going to play Nwora, maybe you go Gabe Vincent for a fraction of the ownership. All right, take a look at the rest of these Nigerian players. Metu is a good point per guy, but the minutes have not been amazing on him, so just kind of a fair value. Agata, the minutes really went down last game. Okoji played awful, but he will handle the ball a decent amount. So he got his minutes cut, only played 16. However, I do think there's a chance he starts again. If he plays well, he probably plays in that mid-20s minute range. So Okoji is a bounce-back candidate. I think looks like a decent, again, contrarian value play. And then Casey Okpala and Oni both had some pretty good games, but we got to look what happened here, right? Okpala had 5 steals, and Oni shot like lights out. These are two guys that are normally not the best point per guys, right? We saw 6 fantasy points in 24 minutes from Oni game 1, and Okpala we saw 8 in 17 minutes. So yes, both these guys are playable. If I had to lean one, probably would be Okpala, because I think he plays a little bit more. But they're cheap, and they will be in the rotation as far as Okpala and Oni. And again, both are on NBA rosters. All right, so let's move on to Italy here. So Italy was a little bit tilted because game 1 we saw really condensed rotation. Game 2 it was a little bit more spread out. So let's take a look at the minutes. Again, game 1 we saw Fonchio play 30, Tunut played 32, Gallinari 25, Melli 26, Mannion 24, Polonara 23. And then game 2 spread out more, right? We saw 28 for Fonchio, 24 for Mannion, 23 for Polonara, 22 for Tunut, 19 for Gallinari, only 24 for Melli. Bench got a little bit more run. And just Gallinari playing under 20 minutes, that really surprised me. Really surprised me. So we'll start off with Gallinari. I think right now he's just more of a contrarian spend up. Now, he had a good game in a mid-20s minutes game 1, but for some reason only played 19 minutes there against Australia. So he's going to have pretty low ownership for this 4-game slate. I do think there's a risk, though. Obviously, there's no guarantee for minutes, right? If he's not playing well, they could limit his minutes, which is, you know, makes him a risky play at this price. So right now, more of a contrarian spend up. Fonchio has been the most consistent player. Once again, had a good shooting game in 29 minutes, went for 29 fantasy points, 10 of 17. Price is slowly ticking up on him. I still think he's viable, but no longer like a, you know, kind of plug and play. A guy that does kind of stand out here is Polonara. Again, he had the awful game 1, shot 0 of 6. Game 2 was a little bit better, right? Shot 5 of 22, went for 23 fantasy points. And in the exhibition games, when Gallinari was out, this offense was Polonara and Fonchio, right? Those are the main 2 guys. And Polonara now is way cheaper at 4.9 as opposed to Fonchio at 7.1. So I think Polonara looks like a pretty decent value play. Nico Mannion actually came off the bench, played really well, shot 9 of 15, had 7 assists, 21 real-life points. I think he's a pretty fair play in this mid-range. Don't expect big minutes, but he's going to handle the ball. And again, we're going to have that floor of the assists with Nico Mannion. So I think he's one of the better plays in the mid-range. Nico Melli had kind of an outlier performance game 1, came back down to earth a little bit game 2. I would say outlier performance in a really good way game 1, probably outlier performance in a really bad way game 2. Like normally he's kind of just a guy that can stuff the stat sheet but not can be super productive. So I would think on average for Nico Melli, he's probably going to play mid-20s minutes and get you 15 to 20 fantasy points, I think is a pretty fair guess for Nico Melli. So price came up. Not my favorite play. Would probably I would just prefer the upside on like Mannion or Faccio for more than going to Melli. Tunut, again, minutes went down. The reason I targeted him that second game was because he played 30-plus minutes. Of course, I go to him. He plays 22. He is a little bit over line scoring. Like, these peripheral stats are not great. 2 assists, 3 boards, 1 board, 1 assist. So definitely got to hit some shots. But I think will play at least 20-plus minutes. So viable play. Again, though, the price came up a little bit on him. And, yeah, I think that is it for Italy. So let's move on to the final 2 games here, guys. Germany and Australia. Germany, really interesting with this roster. Mo Wagner comes off the bench. Now, if you watch that game, Mo Wagner went absolutely off in only 12 minutes, but he was in foul trouble, and they didn't bring him back in. I don't really get this. Like, he is clearly their best player. He should be playing more for this Germany team. So 8.7K, same thing I'll say about Gallinari. More of a contrarian play. However, when Wagner's out there, he is going to dominate, right? He is just, the offense runs through him. He's got to knock down some threes, kind of do it all. So I do have some interest in Wagner, and we saw a couple exhibition games where he pushed for 30 minutes. So if he plays really well like last game, and he stays out of foul trouble, and they leave him out there, and he, like, let's just say this. If I knew Mo Wagner was going to play, I'll just say 28 minutes, I would play him at 8.7K because he's that good of a point per minute guy. Just a question of, will the minutes be there for him? And can he stay out of foul trouble? No, Mloa at 7.4K has probably been their, a most consistent player, I will say. 24, 4, and 4 game 1, and then 13, 9, and 2 game 2. However, he did have 9 turnovers, but he's going to handle the point. He's talented too. A good shooter. Is a good player. Now, again, the price is coming up a little bit on him, but I still think he's a solid play in his upper tier, kind of mid-range. I'm thinking we get similar minutes. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the minutes here for Germany and talk about some of these other players. So, again, game 1, we saw 28 for Mlo, 27 for Bonga, only 21 for Wagner, 29 for Andreas Obst, 20 for Thiemann, 22 for Votman. All right, game 2, 28 for Votman. Again, that's partly due to the Mo Wagner. That's definitely due to Mo Wagner foul trouble. So if Wagner doesn't get in foul trouble, Votman probably doesn't play 28 minutes. Again, Mlo, 29 minutes. Andreas Obst, 29 minutes. So those two look pretty secure for those minutes. Thiemann, 20 again. Bonga, minutes went down a little bit to 23. So now looking at these price points. Again, Bonga, they still have him listed as a center, even though he's not playing center for this team. He's playing point guard at time, more of a wing. He went for 16 fancy points. I think it's just kind of a fair play. I don't love it. Hit a good game 1, kind of below average game 2, so doesn't really stand out, but fair play. Andreas Obst at 3.9K. So they have him listed as a point guard for some reason, even though he's a shooting guard. The positive with him is the minutes, right? He should play close to 30 minutes based on what we've seen in the last couple games. He's a sharpshooter. He's a good shooter. However, if he's not knocking down shots, there is a low floor. So with Obst, you got the positive of minutes, but you have the downside of he's super, super reliant on the scoring. Again, though, he is cheap, so you might be willing to roll the dice on him just because that price point. And then, yeah, Votman at 6.1. Played more last game because of Wagner foul trouble. I don't love the play. Thiemann at 3.6, has been averaging, game 1 he saw about 20 minutes, was disappointing. Game 2, he played a little bit better. For 9 points, 10 boards, and he's a big. I think he's a value play you can consider because minutes should be around 20. He's cheap. I have a little bit of interest there. All right, let's move on to Australia. So Australia runs a really tight rotation, which I really like. Patty Mills at the top, once again, one of my favorite plays. 35, 36 minutes. Again, he's just going to handle the ball a ton. I really like Patty Mills. Now, Joe Ingles at 9.2. Again, they run a really condensed rotation. 32, 33 minutes. He's a guy that, can take over this team at times. And, you know, I'll say, don't be super shocked if Ingles outscores Patty Mills. It is possible. I'll say more often than not, Patty Mills is going to, you know, outscore Ingles. But Joe Ingles can still take over for this team. And he's going to play over 30 minutes. I like both the stars here for Australia, but would lean Mills. Again, though, if you want to go to Ingles for way lower ownership, I don't think that's the worst idea. Now, could you play both these guys together? I think it's possible because both these guys are going to play big minutes, right? With Australia, you know the minutes going to be there. It's kind of like Japan, right? The reason I played both Rui and Yuta last game was because I knew the minutes would be there. Same thing with Australia. The minutes are going to be there for Mills, Ingles, right? We don't have to worry about, you know, say, for example, Gallinari and if the minutes going to be there, or Mo Wagner and if the minutes are going to be there, or France guys, can Iran keep this game close? There's really no worry of that in this game. So Mills and Ingles, I think, are two pretty safe spend-ups. Now, Thibault, once again, is too pricey for me at 8K. 23, 20 minutes, I will pass. Dante Exum had a good game 1. Came back down to earth a little bit game 2. Viable in mid-range, but don't love it. Some guys that stand out there are these centers. So, again, I want to show you guys these rotations here. So this one's against Nigeria. 35 minutes for Mills. 26 for K, 24 for Exum, 32 for Ingles, 16 for Dellavedova, 23 for Thibault, and 13 for Landell, who got in foul trouble, and 15 for Baines. But let's look at this game against Italy. 24 for Landell. Again, stayed out of foul trouble, had a nice game. And he was in the Summer League, so I'm familiar with Jock Landell. A pretty decent point per minute guy, good scorer. Patty Mills, 36. Nicholas K, once again, 26 minutes. Baines only 14, but was a lot more productive in that time. Joe Ingles, 33. And then Thibault, 20. Dellavedova, 13, or 23. And Exum, 18. So what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-man rotation. An 8-man rotation for Australia last game. That is music to my ears. So let's go over these centers. All three are in play. We'll start with Baines, who the Mets haven't been as high in him, 15 and 14 minutes. But he's still a guy that can get it done in that time. We know Aaron Baines, a good rebounder, I think is a solid value. Now, Jock Landell got in foul trouble game 1, did not get in foul trouble game 2, played a lot better. Only 4.8K. Like him as well. And then Nicholas K off the bench has been phenomenal. 26 and 27 minutes. 28 and 29 fantasy points. They're going to have a big at least on the court all time, sometimes 2. And these three all should play some decent minutes. Baines probably playing the least of the bunch. But yeah, I like these Australian centers. Landell, K, Baines, all three look really good to me. And could you play 2 centers together in one lineup? Sure. Why not? Right? These guys are going to play big minutes. So I like Landell, K, and Baines. I think all three are really good value plays. And finally, Dellavedova actually is fine. 17 minutes game 1, 23 game 2. I think he gets around 20 minutes. He's a guy that can handle the ball. I'm not really going to score the ball a ton, but he's cheap, and the minutes should be there for him. I think a fair value. So all in all, I think Australia is one of my favorite teams to target. Them, and I'll say the Czech Republic are my top 2 teams to target on this slate. So let's move on now to that final game, and Czech Republic versus the United States. And I am very, very high in the Czech Republic team. We'll start it with Satoransky. I will say probably my favorite spend up. Right up there with Patty Mills. 34, 35 minutes. He's basically going to play the entire game. This game is projected to be played at a very fast pace. And if the Czech Republic want any chance of winning this game, Satoransky has to take over. And again, he is going to stuff the stat sheet. Game 1, 6 points, 8 boards, 8 assists, 5 steals. Game 2, 14, 10, 3, and 1. I really like Satoransky, even with the price increase. One of my favorite plays in the slate. And then there's a couple other guys I really like too. Jan Vesely here of the Czech Republic, 32 minutes last game. He was formerly in the NBA for a little bit. He is another good point per minute guy. A guy can kind of do it all. 11, 7, 3, and 2 game 1. 19, 5, 3, and 4 game 2. I think Vesely is a good play in the mid-range. And then finally, Baldwin, right? We kind of saw limited minutes from him in game 1, only 19. But I mentioned, I was like, hey, France is a big team. With Rudy Gobert, I think there's a chance Baldwin plays more. Because in the exhibition games, we were seeing close to 30 minutes from him. And sure enough, he did play more. He played 27 minutes and smashed 37 fantasy points. So those are the 3 guys. I look a good amount here for the Czech Republic. Satoransky, Vesely, and Baldwin are where the offense is being run This is, again, a 183.5 over under. And if they want to keep this game competitive, it is those three guys. So, again, I like the Czech Republic a good amount. Let's see. Would I even consider anyone else? Auda played 23 minutes game 1. Boyacek played 21 minutes. Let's see, game 2. Auda played 23. Boyacek 23. So those are the only two other guys that played over 20 minutes. We have Boyacek at 3.8K. Kind of reliant in the scoring. You can roll the dice in him and hope he hits your shots. And then what? Patrick Auda at 5.5K. 22, 23 minutes. I think I would rather just play Baldwin for a little bit less. So that's our map for the Czech Republic. All right, let's finish it up with the United States guys. And this team is tricky, obviously, because they're going to run a deeper rotation and they have a very talented roster. But we'll start with the two guys at the top in Lillard and KD. These should be, the main guys in offense. Dame had a really good game against Iran in limited minutes, went for 34 feints points in 23 minutes. KD had a solid bounce back in only 20 minutes, 34 feints points. Again, these two are going to be super productive when they're on the court. If the Czech Republic can keep this game competitive, we probably see close to 30 minutes from Lillard and Durant. Again, in competitive games and exhibition games, we were seeing about 28 minutes for Lillard and KD. So those are two guys that I think you can look to as spend-ups, that being Dame and KD. The rest of this team, it's a little bit difficult to get to these guys. Now, they did change the starting lineup last game. They went a little bit more small. They inserted Drew Holiday and Devin Booker, moved it was Draymond and Tatum to the bench. So Holiday at 8.9K had a really good game 1, was solid game 2, and he's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. You're getting him a little bit of a discount off of KD and Lillard, but I think I would just rather spend up a little bit more for those top guys. Again, Devin Booker, 19, 18 minutes. Levine's going to come off the bench, play 22 minutes, but the price points seem a little bit too high in some of these secondary options. Bam Adebayo had a great game 1, only played 13 minutes game 2. That was a little bit disappointing. I'm not really interested in that price on Draymond Green. And then these end of the bench guys, Middleton didn't play a ton game 1, and Grant got a DNP, and I don't expect the end of the bench guys to play a ton. So I think where I'm looking is probably KD and Lillard at the top. And then Tatum off the bench is interesting and only played 17 minutes. But if he's going to come off the bench and kind of be that sixth man, I think that makes him a little bit interesting. But really, I think the main interest for me is probably the top guys, Lillard, KD. A little bit of interest in Drew Holiday, a little bit of interest in Jason Tatum. But again, the price points are just up on a lot of these guys. So a little bit difficult to feel really good about some of these United States guys. All right, so that is going to do it for the video today. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos and you don't want to go live. Probably going to be doing a pretty early live stream tomorrow. I will let you guys know about that. But yeah, thanks again. Have a great day, and I will see you all later.